In the center of the city stood an old building with an archway people passed through daily on their way to work or the shops, never noticing its true age. On the third floor lived a couple, Dennis and Solomia. They seemed like a pair who had been together for decades, quiet, calm, without explosive fights and without the passion that could shatter glass. Neighbors called them the quiet family. But silence doesn't always mean peace. Long ago, Solomia was an artist. She painted large canvases, chaotic, bright, alive, like storms tearing open the sky. Dennis worked as a restorer at a museum. He was a master of order, precision, neatness. He believed the world should have structure, and that paintings should have a clear composition. Their meeting had once been an explosion of opposites. But over the years, that gulf didn't bring them into harmony. It slowly, almost invisibly, pulled them in different directions. Solomia hadn't touched her brushes in a year. The art that once felt like oxygen now lay dust-covered in a storage room. Dennis believed it was temporary, just a phase. She knew something inside her had gone dim. One day a new tenant moved into the building, Forrest. A musician, but not the romantic type with roses and serenades. More like someone who knew how to catch silence and turn it into sound. They met by chance in the elevator. He noticed an old canvas in her hands, which she had finally decided to throw away. The first thing he said was, "I don't believe someone with eyes like yours could ever discard a painting." He wasn't trying to flirt. It was as if he saw something in her that no one had seen for a long time, not even she herself. Oris didn't become her close friend right away. Their conversations were short, fleeting on the stairs, in the courtyard, in the entryway. Sometimes he brought her coffee for no reason. "I noticed you didn't leave home today." Unexpectedly. Solomia began to paint again, first small sketches in a notebook, then the old canvas leaning against the wall. She didn't know why the desire returned, but she felt that Oris, somehow, had reawakened the chaos she once lived by. Dennis noticed the change but saw it as a good sign. "Oh, you're painting again. Finally, I told you it would come back." He never asked what exactly brought it back. There was nothing romantic between her and Oris in the usual sense. No secret hand touches, no kisses in the dark, no forbidden meetings. There was something else. Sitting together on the roof and looking out at the city, they sometimes stayed silent for hours. In that silence, Solomia felt that someone was seeing her completely, without the role of a wife. Without responsibility, without constraints. One evening Oris said, "Your paintings look like a person who remembers who she used to be, but is afraid to admit who she has become." It hurt. But it was true. Their closeness wasn't physical, but internal, more dangerous than any physical betrayal. One day Dennis found new paintings in her studio. They were unlike anything she had created before, gentle, but with a storm beneath the surface. And on almost every one the shadow of a man's profile. "Who is he?" Dennis asked quietly. Solomia didn't know what to say. It was the moment of truth, when a lie could save a marriage, but destroy her forever. "Someone who reminded me who I am." Dennis looked away. He didn't need more details. He already felt he had lost a battle he didn't even know he'd been fighting. "Do you love him?" "No," she said after a long pause. "He's not about love. He's about freedom." The next day Solomia went to see Oris. He was sitting in his apartment, filled with music that sounded like an unfinished letter. "I need to tell you something," she began. "This has gone too far." Oris didn't ask what. He knew. "If it hurts you, leave," he said. "But don't leave me. Leave the lie that's choking you." "I can't just leave Dennis. He's part of my life. And I'm not asking you to come to me." It was the strangest betrayal one could imagine, to people who demanded nothing from each other, yet changed one another completely. Solomia didn't run off with Oris. She didn't leave Dennis that very moment. She started art therapy, returned to painting, began teaching Dennis to talk about feelings, and herself to listen. She honestly told Oris she could never be with him. He only nodded and for the first time smiled, as though he had finally finished a melody he'd been struggling to write. A few weeks later, he moved away, not because he was fleeing, His contract in the city had simply ended. Solomia and Dennis stayed together, but it was no longer a still pond, it was a road with turns and scars, real, difficult, alive. Sometimes love is not about never betraying. It is about learning to see each other again in a world where everyone is constantly getting lost.